Hi. Okay, first of all, you notice I opened my shirt. I'm not used to that. This is me. No, just the shirt. So, yeah. Someone from back home told me that I'm supposed to be more well dressed. But as I can see my colleagues here wearing the way ISPs are supposed to wear. Anyway, I come here not only from Indonesia, so I studied at De La Salle, and that was actually my first experience of the internet. Started in 1987. So for me, it's more of I know a balikbayan, maybe could be. Anyway, uh, uh, I've been doing a lot in Indonesia, and I'm going to give you this presentation. Uh, at the end, there's a lot of things I would like to thank the Philippines, especially about the internet. My first internet experience was in 1991, 1992 from De La Salle. They have a dial-in port, and you can telnet to the internet. And from Indonesia, I can actually telnet to isis.dlsu.edu.ph and get the full library. And that was inspiring. Hence, inspired me to do this. Okay, the Indonesian internet. It was started by universities. University of Indonesia, like UP, was the CCTLD. Only used for email, and the protocol was UUCP. Anybody still remember UUCP? Yes, right. No SMTP, no port 25, it was just UUCP. Okay, that was back in 1993, I guess, yeah, 1993, 1992. Pak Sanjaya of Indonet was the first ISP. So what he did in 1994, put a bunch of modems at his house, and he had a dial up to Singapore, only Telnet and IRC, and it has no charge. It's free, totally free. So that's what the internet is supposed to be. The government has no knowledge what the internet was. That's why he started operating without a license. After that, 1995, our government then realized that there is a business called an ISP. Now, Radnet was the first licensed ISP. Started a year after Pak Sanjaya did, after Indonet, introduced the World Wide Web. So you have a web browser, has a dedicated connection to the internet. This is the part I hate. Started charging users for connection. Now, if it's with up to Sanjaya, we'll have free internet up until today. So this is the guy that's guilty of doing this, the commercial thing. Now, Indonet then had to follow the model because they have now a license, and the regulators issued a total of 27 ISP licenses. Why 27? We have 27 provinces. So our government said, we'll have no more than 27 ISP license for each province. Currently, we have 250 license, so they kind of lied. I don't know. Okay, so that's politics. Anyway, we made the ISP Association back in 1996. So I've been with the ISP Association since its conception in 1996, all the way up to 2005. The membership included all the ISPs, all 27, and of course the institution that actually brought the internet to Indonesia were the universities. So University of Indonesia was a honorary member. Indosat and Telkom was a reluctant honorary member. They really resisted in joining the ISP Association, but we kind of forced them to. Right, this is the Indonesian internet back in 1996. Every single ISP has a connection to the tier 1 to international range. So there's Globe One, MCI, Singtel, A-Bone from Radnet, which from a business point of view and a marketing point of view is pretty cool. You have an ISP saying, we have 2 megs connection going to Global One, or a 2 megs going to A-Bone Japan. But this is the reality. Remember the two ISPs I talked about, Radnet and Indonet, 5 kilometers away in Jakarta. Send an email from Radnet to Indonet, goes all the way to Abon, Japan, goes back to San Francisco, West Coast, switch there, goes back all the way to Singtel in Singapore, and then to this guy, Indonet, 5 kilometers away. That was the route that is being used just to send a single email, which is kind of lousy. In 1987, we thought of, hey, let's make an internet exchange. Remember, the government just knew about the internet, 1995, so talking to them was, yeah, forget it. Anyway, we have no funding provided by the government, none at all. Designed by Cisco, it was Barry Green, and then it was me and Tony Hariman, so we did the configuration. And all the ISPs chip in all their little configuration and ideas. And we only have 5 connected ISPs out of 27. Routers was granted by Cisco. Granted as in Cisco US sent us some equipment. It was a 7204, 2 equipment 7204 and a Cisco 7000, around $30,000. No signature, no contract. We have no obligation to put the Cisco logo. It was just the way the internet was at that time. Same thing happens with RAD, which has baseband modems. They just shipped us like 10 modems or something. HP gave us servers, Intel also, Microsoft gave us original softwares. This was the time of the internet. None of this had contracts on them, so we just received the equipment. I'm emphasizing on this so there's a good understanding why up until today our internet exchange doesn't require any fee. And it started operation in August 1997. So every ISP now has 2 links. One link going international and the second link going locally. This is just me, because they have no contract. I just put Cisco just to be thankful, just to remind us that they helped us a lot. That time, right, 1994 up till 1997, 1998. This is the price per meg per month. $88,000 per meg per month if you subscribe to international traffic. This is the MRTG of a typical ISP at that point to the IIX. Peak traffic is at 12 megs. That means he's saving 12 times $88,000 per month. Now multiply that by 27 ISPs. It was a very significant savings. And it also turns out in 1998 we had a crisis. So this was really significant. We started the IIX in 1997 and the crisis was 1998. It's as if I can see the future, making the IIX before the crisis. Just a coincidence. I have no idea about business, so. Right, so next slide. The Indonesian grew, like I mentioned, the government lied when they told us they only were going to give 27 licensed ISP. Turns out issued 90 new more ISP license, so that makes it more than 100 ISPs. Then the portals were growing. Internet cafes was everywhere. Growth of the internet of corporate domains just grew. So you have all these factors that the internet is just growing and growing and growing and growing and growing, but the infrastructure is not. So we only have limited infrastructure within the capital city. There was a monopoly. Indosat is a monopoly for international traffic. That's the only company you can subscribe to if you want international traffic in Indonesia. This was back in 1997, 1998. Telkom has the monopoly of local last mile traffic. So you can only subscribe to Telkom. You couldn't make your own wireless. You couldn't put your own fibers. You have to subscribe to Telkom. And Telkom's product, the maximum, is an E1. The maximum bandwidth for internet connection is 2 megs. So due to strict regulations, wireless is not that available. Slow deployment of infrastructure. We don't have ADSL, HFC, CDMA was very limited at that time. And it's a monopoly. So you have this exchange, and then you have this bottleneck of last mile 2 megs connection. Okay, let's put that in perspective. If you have an ISP here, right, in this part of Jakarta, monopoly tells them they have to subscribe to Indosat to access the internet, right? Right, Indosat will open 1 meg, they'll have a 1 meg lease line. It's time to upgrade to 2 megs. That's what happens. So you have a 2 meg lease line, and you have 2 megs going to the internet. Let's upgrade to 4 megs. There you go. You have 4 megs going to the internet, and you have a 2 meg lease line. Isn't that cool? But that's the monopoly. Up until that point, Telkom does not. I think up until today, they don't actually have any product above 2 megs. You want anything above 2 megs, you subscribe to 2 times 2 megs, and then you invest your own inverse multiplexer or whatever that is, costing tens of thousands of dollars. And we're saying, we're an ISP. Why would we need to buy telco equipment? Just doesn't make sense. It hurts both parts, not only going to the international, but also going to the IXP. So all of a sudden, this great idea of having an exchange to reduce costs, to make the internet faster, has this great big bottleneck, which is unsolvable. Until, at that point, I was the secretary of technical issues in the association, and I have my own ISP, and I'm starting a new business. Pak Sanjaya, Pak Bani mentioned, was the Secretary General of the association. It turns out I was also the administrator of the Indonesian Internet Exchange. So Sanjaya came up, Johar, you're the admin, you figure this out. How can we make ISPs connect more than 2 megs to the exchange? Right. The idea was like this. I told Pak Sanjaya, I'm going to make a new business, right? And what I'm going to do to trick the government is, since they don't have any regulations about Ethernet, I will pull Ethernet to all the routers of the ISPs, which is unregulated. And the way to do that is I will move all the routers in Jakarta, in Indonesia, to the same room. And I laughed. It was a joke. Well, Sanjaya quieted down and told me, hey, Johar, you can really do that? I said, yeah, I'm making my business. I can do that. So we created a new company, me, Miss I, and 2 others, friends, what we call an IDC. We physically, as I'm the administrator of the IX, moved the exchange to this empty room, which is around 2,000 square meters. Yeah, we're using 800 square meters. And all our friends, CBN, Radnet, Indonet, moved physically their main router to the same room. So their NOC is still at their place, but their main router is physically moved in this one room. So now, instead of having 2 megs, you have Ethernet, 10, 100 gigabit. We don't care, it's Ethernet. So that is solved. As soon as you have the ISPs in the same room, okay, by the way, I'm not acting as an ISP when I made this. Internet Data Center Indonesia is a very neutral company. It's not an ISP, not a telco. What we realized was all these people that's connected to the ISP, started moving their equipment to the main router of the ISP, right? So now you have ISPs and you have all these content providers connected. Remember that guy Indosat who couldn't sell more than 2 megs? They found out about this and they dug the road from their office, laying fiber, and put their equipment in the same room. So now the ISPs are connected Ethernet to Indosat. Indosat say, hey, you can subscribe more than 2 megs, whatever you want, as long as you pay, no problem. So we have this. Telcom, the guy that only had 2 megs connection for lease line, found about this also and said, hey, I can do that. So they laid out fiber to the same room. So now you have also the local telcos terminating all their equipment in the same room. This is Indonesia since 2000. Everything, every single device, main router, is in the same room. Why? The government told us so by having those 2 monopolies, right? If from your house to your office, passing through EDSA, there's traffic, you cannot have EDSA widen the track. The easiest way to do is tear down your house with a helicopter and put it right beside your office, right? Hence, no traffic from your house to your office. Am I right? Going to the airport, there's traffic. Easy. Leave the airport with the helicopter, put it beside your office. No traffic going to the airport, right? Exactly the concept. Exactly the same concept. I might do that in Manila, move the airport or hospital. I know the traffic. I was in LaSalle. Anyway, this is a bit sad and happy story. In 2005, the ISP Association that created the IIX did this. Introduces a fee structure to connect to the IIX. Before any ISP can connect to the IIX, just connecting with no charges, they have to, as a business IDC, rent racks at IDC, which is okay, but to connect to the IIX, no charge at all. So this is what they started to do. The majority of ISPs do not agree. Keep in mind that the configuration of the IIX was made by all the ISPs, and all the equipment you see there, aside from what Cisco gave us in back in 1996, was actually just given by several different ISPs. So you have CBN coming in, hey Johar, you need to switch here, use mine, Or you have this RADNet coming in, here, use my modem or whatever. So the IIX was actually a collection of devices from all the ISPs. So when the association handling the exchange told these ISPs that gave so much that now you have to pay to connect, just didn't work. So we created what is called the National Interconnection Exchange. Do you know why we named it that? Because you can abbreviate it to be nice. So we thought of the abbreviation first before we thought of what it stands for. Really, true story. Sanjay was involved. He's the one that actually had this idea connection. But properly known in Indonesia as the Open IXP. Why is it called the Open IXP? Because when we started the IIX, there was this policy of the IIX is under the ISP Association. The ISP Association only gives services to its members, right? So only ISPs are allowed to connect to the IIX. University of Indonesia, that guy with the big traffic locally, could not connect. Not even ITB, not even the banking section, not even the gaming section. It's all about ISPs. So I'm the admin of this IIX, and I see we're growing locally, but outside of the IX, there's this big traffic that's expanding and growing, but they have no way to connect to the IX just because they are not ISPs. They have their own IP addresses, they have their own AS number, they have their own international bandwidth. If you're talking about University of Indonesia, their bandwidth is like 5-6 times bigger than the biggest ISP, but they're not allowed to connect to the exchange. So we made this. It's like the IIX, but now it's called the OpenIXP. No membership connection. It's a layer 2 exchange and launched in September 2005. This is more a thought how we can make this exchange not to have so many meetings. If it's a layer 3 exchange, you'll have this yearly meeting and you'll talk about peering policy, you'll talk about traffic, you'll talk about filtering, you'll talk about all those things based on IP address, who can announce what. But if you say it's a layer 2 exchange, suddenly there's nothing to talk about. It's a layer 2. You connect, that's it. So it's more of that. And now we don't define ISPs, we define peers. Peers are networks which has IP addresses assigned by the peers, Aryan, RIPE, APNIC, Afronic, Latnic, whatever, but they have their own IP addresses. And all the ISPs in 2005, in 3 days, move everything from the IIX to the OpenIXP. Zero downtime. You have 90 ISPs connected to the IIX, and all these 19 ISPs, because we're in the same room, remember that, has a second connection to the OpenIXP, all 90. And then we go 1, 2, 3, disconnect the IIX. So zero downtime in shifting from the IIX to the OpenIXP. And it only took us 2 days, from Thursday to Saturday. That's because, she's talking. That's because we have to plug in the cable. If we don't, it's around 90 seconds. 90 seconds means to say 30 seconds to plug it in, 30 seconds to refresh the BGP, another 30 seconds to laugh. Haha, that was fast, So it's a total of 90 seconds. Yeah, you laugh and you say, hey, good, I'm so clever. Really. All right, so all the ISPs connected there. And this is the last configuration we had of the IIX. 7204 switches. These are 2924s, or at that time 2950s. 2924s, yeah. And these are the routers of the ISPs. This is the actual configuration. We just cascade that side. The total physical capacity, if you count the ports, is 9.6 gigs, and it routes only IPv4. In September 2005, there's this guy that went crazy and donated this device, a 7609. So this is the configuration of the OpenIXP, the one that everybody changed to in 2005. So now the physical capacity is 356 gigs, which is a big plus from what we had in the IIX, and we were very proud of this. Only 3 years. The proud only lasted 3 years because the traffic just grew. I'll show you later what I'm talking about. All right, so the OpenIXP, or the NICE, it's administered by 10 administrators from 10 ISP voluntary basis. How do we select who volunteers for the OpenIXP? Easy. Mailing list, ask Who wants to be the admin? Anyone that replies, I will, means they're the admin. That's it. Why 10? Because in the mailing list, 10 people said yes. If it was 12, we'll have 12 admins. If it was 5, we'll have 5 admins. You know, it just depends on who says yes. Communications are through email and Yahoo Messenger. Yahoo Messenger is it. It's the tool for admins. Beats the hell out of BBM. You know why? From in Yahoo Messenger, you can telnet, you can copy paste your telnet, and you can paste it in your Yahoo Messenger. Try doing that with your BBM. Right? Yeah, you can paste your telnet. There is no BBM client for the PC, so you can paste your telnet, right? Yeah, okay. I think your look is like, I never thought of that. You know? Pasting my telnet to the message. But that's what we do. Imagine, you know, in one case, when we moved to the OpenIXP, you have 290 engineers in a Yahoo Messenger conference. And when we moved, what they did was, hey, Johar, this is my configuration on my side of the router, show run, interface, whatever, copies the configuration, paste it into the conference, and then the other ISP will say, hey, yeah, that's the right, oh, but you should do this. You know, it's really that powerful. That's why we managed to move the whole exchange in 2 days, because we have Yahoo Messenger. It does not route international traffic, uses public non-announced IP addresses, which is actually what you're doing, not affected by disconnection of internal bandwidth, all the way layer 2 exchange, but layer 3 BGP speaker is also used. Yeah, hint, hint. Everybody's connected BGP to a single AS number. So the layer 2 thing, it's just so we don't have so many meetings. That's it. Layer 2 switching has fewer policies than layer 3. You don't need a yearly meeting talking about policies because it's layer 2. It's fun. Right, this is a trace route going to, we're using 218.127.129, and this is what I suggest the Philippine Exchange will be heading, escaping from Bill Manning, going to APNIC. There you go. Anywhere in the world, from Saudi Arabia to the US, all the way to Australia, you could not trace route or ping this block of IP addresses. It simply does not exist in the internet. Yes, and that is very good, because for hackers, you could not hack something you could not ping. You couldn't hack something you couldn't trace route. So from outside of Indonesia, it's very hard to get inside the main router, unless you hack an ISP in Indonesia and hack it from there. Don't tell them I told you that. All right, so here's an example of Yahoo. A trace route from Indonesia going to Yahoo servers. There you go. There you go. There. 16 hops, latency 198 milliseconds. Yahoo in 2010 has connected to the OpenIXP. There you go. From 16 hops, now it's 3 hops. From 198 milliseconds, now it's 0.9 milliseconds. So very, very nice. We had problem with Yahoo. When they wanted to connect, we were summoned by 7 lawyers of Yahoo saying, Yahoo is going to connect, we are going to sign the papers with your service level agreement. And we said, there is no such thing. All 250 ISPs, no signature. All the operators connected, no signature. So sue us. You know? You either connect without the signature or you don't connect. Yahoo caved in. So I think it's the first time Yahoo actually plugged into this big network without a service level agreement or signing anything. Right. This is the peak traffic. I showed you the MRTG, so I'm only talking about the peak traffic, the topmost traffic. This is the IX peak traffic in 1999, 2 megs, 3 megs in 2000. We started IDC in September 2000, right? That's when we move everything into this company called IDC. It jumped from 3 megs to 40 megs. Then went 245, 620, 1.2, 1.3. This is a bit flat because this is where the trouble of the OpenISP and the IX began. So it took us 5 years to reach from 2 megs to 1.3 giga. After that, this is what happens. This is a bit flat because I didn't in it, but it's like that. So it took us 5 years to reach 1 gig peak traffic. Starting in 2009, 2010, we're growing at 1 gig per month. 2011, 2 gigs per month, roughly. So that's how the traffic will grow exponentially if you have every single network connected locally. It just will catalyze everything, the gaming sectors, the SMS traffic, everything. This is the equipment that we have now. We have a 410. So the 7209 can handle 270 ports of gigabit and 8 ports of 10 gigs. This new equipment now we have can handle 100 ports of 10 gigs and 200 ports of gigabit. And nobody has to pay for it. It's just there, you just connect. Even all the operators. We know a lot of people because I am the internet guy. I'm so harmless. She is the CEO of IDC. It's all business. So if I go to a vendor and say, I need a router, they'll just give it to me. If she goes, she say, oh, boy, you want discount, yeah, right? She still has to pay. Me, get it for free. You need switch routers, I can give it. Yeah, BK, 7204? 7204? Give it a 7204? Okay, we actually do have. But you don't need, nothing has to be signed. Okay, so now we can handle 790 gigabits of traffic. Why we need this? Because the traffic is just growing tremendously. So we do have this as a necessity. Okay, so the last slides are this. This is the Indonesian internet back in 1997. If you're to clarify things, right? These are ISPs. They're business entities. The exchange is always a community-based made exchange. It is non-business, but it handles all the traffic. These are business entities because they're selling international bandwidth. I have another company called IDC, the Internet Data Center, which is this white piece of paper where every device subscribes to my rack. They rent racks at my site, and I give free racks and power for the exchange. 1997, 1998, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2006. As you see, these are not computer generated. They're beautifully drawn manually by me. And the circles are getting too small. Stop drawing there. But script-wise, 2009 looks something like this. You still have this. Always will. For the local exchange. So that's what we have until today, and that's what's driving the 60 gig peak traffic now about. And that's the end of my slide, but I'd like to show you this, the MRTG. Right, this is today. Yesterday was Sunday, so it's only 21.1 plus 22.4, which is 44. But you normally will get something like this. Yeah. 29.9 gigs plus 30.9, which is 59, 60.8, which is slow day. Our highest traffic this year was actually 64 gig. So that's daily. And the fun part about being an administrator is you can actually click anywhere and see what's the traffic, what's going on with all the ISPs. Kind of cool. And this is Indonesia. We have the F route also and the I route, thanks to AP Nick. So that's the F route, I route, and you can see the habit of the Indonesian internet user, which is something like this. That's typical. Traffic starts office hour, drops after office hour. Nobody plays at home. Mahal kasi. So at home, you bookmark whatever you want to download. Once you're back in your university or your office, then you download the file, right? You do that, right? Yeah, see? So typical, it's like this. And I think all the ISPs you can think of will have that typical shape. Anyone? Yeah, see? It's all like that. It's always like that. Here's our looking glass. So this is kind of real time about the interface connected. There are all the ISPs on the left side. No, the peers on the left side, and how they're connected on the right side. You have Indosat. It goes on and on. See, now you have universities. There's universities. You have corporates. You have, these are stock exchange traders, and banking, TV station. Remember I told you all those networks that actually has bigger bandwidth than ISP, they have their own AS number, they have their own IP address, which we could never reach out when we were under the IIX. Now everything is connected after the Open IXP. As you can see the jump in numbers from 1.3 gigs, then it just went crazy after we moved from the IIX to the Open IXP. What you couldn't see here, oh yeah, by the way, this MRTG thing, it is password, so you're all from ISPs, right? None of them are internet cafes or things like that, right? All right, so I can show them this. The politic problem about traffic is the internet cafes and end users, they tend to, right, mohonmaaf.com. So all the ISPs has access to the website that shows all the traffic of Indonesia. And no hacker has ever hacked this site because it's password protected. The username is username and the password is password. Yep. That's why no hacker has been here. I think they never tried username and password to guess the username and password. Reverse psychology. So the only reason we password this site is so the internet cafes and end user could not access it. But what we want to do is all the ISPs to be able to access this real time, 24 hours a day. And how do we maintain that? There's a mailing list. It's called Office Boy. That means people who are in the office before the janitors and who are still in the office after the janitor leaves. So we are the office boys, right? People with the router. So we have this mailing list called the Office Boy. To give you an idea, there. So anything that has a problem, will be resolved by like this 200. See, Yahoo Indonesia, can you query to Yahoo Core ID? Yes, I can. Yes, I cannot. Everything that has anything to do with network trouble in Indonesia usually will be solved within the hour. It's not because you have good administrator, it's because you have these 240, geeks that's 24 hours a day behind their routers just having this mailing list. So it's solvable. And we do know for a fact, as an ISP, if you're connected to the single exchange, is let's say there's this popular game on this site and it's connected to the exchange, and you are this big ISP like Telkom or CBN or Indosat Indonesia, and there's something wrong with the database of this game, so the users will lag. The first thing the user will do if the game is lagging is call the ISP and complain. Hey, I've bought this 1,000 peso voucher for this game and I cannot connect and it's lagging. I'm losing my voucher. And all the ISPs, you'll have to explain, yeah, but the game's not here or whatever. So, but that's the whole point of it. We do know that anyone that's connected to the exchange that has any problem will affect everybody, not only the network but also the support, the customer support, 24 hours. Then you have to make this long explanation to your users to don't move. So they'll say, if I cannot play Ragnarok within the hour, I'll switch to another ISP. And you're there trying to explain, yeah, the problem is Ragnarok, it doesn't make sense. You've moved to another ISP, it's the same thing. So that's why we have this mailing list, because we know anything that happens in the network will actually affect everybody, really everybody. Okay, questions? Any questions yet? Oh yeah. Hope the mic was off. Yes. All right.
Just a question.
Yeah.
Does Indonesia have other internet exchange or just one major internet exchange?
Okay. Sadly, we have only one. But since the IIX split up with the OpenIXP is actually the only single exchange. But we are trying to revive the IIX. So now I think the IIX has 13 ISPs connected to it. Here we have 360. It's more of nostalgic. But we're worried. But I am seriously, I'm worried if there's the IIX. As long as the association couldn't change the policy, it will go through the same problem. The policy of IX, only ISPs can connect, and the other policy of IX is because it's under the association, the association will need money to run it, then the association will start telling the peers that they have to pay to connect.
Follow-up question.
Yes.
What if something go wrong with the main?
Well, it goes down. Yes.
I guess the one it was mentioned by Bani, and even before, like when the ISP set up here, when internet started up in 2004. The next question we had was, if we set up the IXP, how do we make it non-political, make it neutral, right? And the third one was sustainability. The first two, just like as you were joking about, okay, if you can't do it upfront legally, quote unquote, then what the hell? Just do it the other way. But the sustainability, I hope we could still go around and ask nice big routers from folks, maybe if someone has a spare, but to keep it going because there's still power. Is it a voluntary chip-in thingy or what?
So a very, very good question. There is the exchange point, which is true. It's there. It has to run because it's the whole country, and you do need sustainability. So actually, that was why in 2000 we made the Internet Data Center of Indonesia, a company IDC that rents out just racks, right? So we are not an ISP, we are not an operator, we just have room with racks. Now the ISPs, because of policy at that time, or because of the monopoly, you'll have to use Ethernet if you want to connect fast to the Open ISP. Ethernet longest distance is 100 meters, right? So the ISPs have to rent a rack in IDC if they want to connect Ethernet to the exchange. Now look at it this way from the ISP side. 2 megs was 1,300 US dollars per month for 2 megs if they had this lease line from their ISP to the exchange. We are renting out racks at $700. Now with $700, they get 100 megs compared to 2 megs for $1,300. So for them, it's a bargain. You know, just pay for 700, we get 100, or we even get gigabit Ethernet compared to just 2 megs with 13. So that was it. So now IDC has the enough capital to sustain the exchange. So it's a chicken and egg question, which I could never answer. Are people connected to IDC? Are people moving to IDC because of the exchange? Or is it actually because there are so many ISPs in IDC that they created the exchange? Yes, because it goes both ways. You don't even have to make a concept of an ISP. All you have to do is you have at least 3 ISPs in the same room. They'll create an exchange. Techies do that. It's natural. If you have more than 2 ISPs in a room, you have 3 ISPs, they will create an exchange. It can be a switch, it can be a router, it can just be a bunch of wireless, but they'll create an exchange. That's as simple as that. Yep. Yep. Yes, exactly. Yep. Yep. Exactly. So that's what we did. Telcom in our place, Telcom is like PLDT. They have their own data centers. They have their own room. They have this big data center on that side. And then you have Indosat on the other side of the city, and they have this big data center, that big room. And it's the same problem. If you put your equipment in Indosat, Telcom is not allowed to enter. If you put it in Telcom, Indosat is not allowed to enter. So when we made IDC, we are just this was like 13 years ago. I mean, in shaggy jeans and t-shirt, and I make IDC and I go to Telcom. Hey, Telcom, put your note here in Indosat, and they'll see me as this crazy geek, with no interest of listening. But that's how we brand ourselves. We're just geeks. We just love the internet. We don't care about the telco business. So we managed to get Telcom and Indosat in the room. And it's not like I told Telcom and Indosat to enter the room so the ISPs will come in. It was the other way around. We had the exchange, and we have all these small ISPs inside IDC connected to the exchange. Telcom, or like Globe and PLDT, they are still a business that is looking for market. They will see the IDC as this one big market. Hey, there's a potential of 20 ISPs that will subscribe to PLDT in that place. So PLDT is in their advantage to actually have a node there, so I can sell easier. So that's what we've been talking with Bunny. He was asking me, how do you manage this? I said, yeah, just put all the small ISPs in one room and you present that. You don't go to Telcom say, hey Telcom, you have to connect here because with the exchange. It's more hey Telcom, you know what? In my place, there's 90 ISPs, and they're all willing to pay your lease lines because that's what they do. And it becomes bigger and bigger because then eventually, then by nature, we were the only place in Indonesia that you can subscribe to all the different carriers with an Ethernet. It's the single place where all the fiber are terminated. So that's neutrality. What I have to give up was give up my ISP. So I have an ISP called The Net, inspired by Sandra Bullock. It's called the.net.id. You know the net, the movie, yeah. And so in 2000, we shut that down. We didn't give the license back, but we turned it into the world's first family ISP. If you are not my family, you cannot subscribe. So my subscribers is my brother, Natnitnat, my father, Pete Inekda, my sister, Fajar Hidayah, all my family. The first family ISP in the world. Why I did that? Because all my customers are ISPs. If I own an ISP and I run IDC, they will see me not being neutral. They will think that I will give my ISP an advantage. That's why I did that. Right. And there's my CEO here. We met offline, internet service provider. She's good in marketing. I'm good in business and technical. So she'll come back and say, I couldn't sell because your bandwidth is lousy. And I say, my bandwidth is good, you couldn't sell. So we merge. Now we're husband and wife. So that's the, yeah, that is a very true story.